The Toametru go to the Colosseum and show Turaga Doom the Great Discs. Turaga Doom, actually Pterodax in disguise, questions if the Toametru are really Toa. Doom puts the Toametru through a test, which, without their elemental powers and not knowing their math powers, they do not pass. Doom labels the Toametru as imposters and accuses them for Toa Lakan's disappearance. Vakama spots Nideki and Kreka from behind the false Turaga and realizes that Doom is a traitor. Whenua, Nuju, and Oniwa are captured by the Vaki. Vakama, Nokama, and Matau escape to go on a rescue to find their jailed brothers in Toa Lakan. Vakama, Nokama, and Matau leave their chute in Lei-Metru. A Vaki Bordak uses its Staff of Loyalty on Nokama, who pushes Vakama off the side of a building in Lei-Metru. Vakama discovers the special power of his disc launcher which enables him to fly. He uses this to save himself, then sends two Shrink Kanoka at the Vaki who are waiting below. Nokama tries to subdue Matau, but he knocks her over the side of the building, grabs her foot, and resolves to keep her hanging there until the Vaki power wears off, but accidentally drops her. Vakama catches Nokama, who is jolted back to herself again by the shock. Matau enters a chute to draw the Vaki away from the others, but some Vaki Vorzak ahead of him sabotage the chute. He is able to bring himself to stop his Toa tools, and the Vaki are chasing him fly out of the broken part of the chute, caught unaware. Oniwa, Nuju, and Whenua are being led to the prison of the Dark Hunters in Pometru. They quietly plan to run, but do not realize that Whenua has been hit by the power of the Vaki Vorzak, turning him into an unknown spy. The three run for hours, circling around, narrowly avoiding capture many times. However, the Vaki are aware of their prison the whole time, and eventually lead them to the dead end, in the prison of the Dark Hunters. Nokama, Vakama, and Matau still aboard a cargo airship bound out of Lei-Metru, figuring the Vaki will be watching the streets and chutes, not the airships. On the journey, they realized the Morbizak was merely a cover for something else, which Lakan had suspected, but never had time to explain before the Dark Hunters had captured him. Some previously unnoticed Vaki Nurak ambush Vakama, Nokama, and Matau above the airship, but are defeated. The Dark Hunters, which are nearby, fly up to the airship and fight the Toametru, but the Toa manage to escape. Meanwhile, Doom is keeping tabs on the whole event, and his bird Nivalk is spying on the Toametru and the Dark Hunters for him. Vakama receives a monstrous being fighting him in a vision, Pterodax, though he does not know that at the time, and a massive hand crushing him. Then the vision changes to a scene of himself wrapped in webbing, where Nideki taunts him. Lakan appears and warns him of the message of the visions, and then Turaga Doom shows him a vision of himself and the others being mutated in the place with webs. He snaps out of the vision in Toametru. A Tatarak rises to the surface near Matau, Nokama, and Vakama, awakened before the Toa's fight with Kraka. He demands to know the answer to an unknown question, and he threatens to destroy Toametru if it is not answered. The Toametru fight him, eventually using weakened Kanoka to make the ground beneath him crumble and send him back to the archives. The three Toa take the chutes to Kometru, fleeing approaching Nurak. The Dark Hunters force the chute manager, Kongu, to reverse the chute flow. However, the Toametru escape out of the chute. In the process, Vakama has a vision of Lakan's spirit star. On the ground, Vakama tinkers with Great Discs and forges the Great Disc of Time by accident. He then shows Nokama Lakan's star, and the three Toa decide to follow it to Pometru, stowing on a Vaki transport. They find strange spheres, and Vakama has a vision of a Matoran trapped inside one. Back in the prison, Oniwa and his two companions meet a mysterious hooded Turaga. Vakama and two other Toa are ambushed in Pometru by the Dark Hunters. However, a rampage of Kikanalo serves as a distraction. The beasts pursue the Toa but are stopped by Nokama, who uses her newfound mask power to speak to them and gain their allegiance. Oniwa and Nuju discover in prison their mask powers, and Nuju uses his to break out. Along with the Turaga, the Toa are attacked by a Troller, which is mind-controlled by Oniwa to take them to the Onumetru tunnels, where Whenua uses his own power and leads his companions. Vakama, Nokama, and Matau encounter many Vaki Zakt, along with the Dark Hunters, at the Canyon of Unending Whispers. With the help of the Kikanalo and Matau's mask power, they are able to defeat them. The three Toa enter the tunnels and reunite with Oniwa, Whenua, and Nuju. They realize that Turaga is actually Lacan. Vakama is told by Lacan that they must save the Matoran, not him. Pterodax, disguised as Turaga Doom, tells all Matoran to report to the Colosseum. Vakama finds Turaga Doom locked in a stasis pod. Before being able to ponder the consequences of the discovery, they're interrupted by Vaki Vorzak. The Toa and Lacan find a Vaki transport in a vault, but are ambushed by Lorak. They defeat the Rahi using their elemental powers, before surfacing thanks to Whenua. The Vaki lock the Matoran into stasis pods. The Toa arrive, but are unable to prevent the Vaki from taking them away. Pterodax takes off the krill as he was wearing, revealing his krakan underneath, as well as growing from his shrunken state. The Toa Metru discover that the Matoran are trapped underneath the Colosseum. Defeating Vaki along the way, they use their transport to reach the underground storage chambers. Realizing they cannot save all the Matoran, they lead 6 Matoran into spheres and onto the transport. Pterodax absorbs the power of the Colosseum, transforming himself into a shadowy vortex in the process. The shut-in drain causes a backlog of electricity into the Vaki hives, either frying the Vaki or changing their programming. The Toa Metru try and escape the city even as the quake caused by Pterodax destroys it. They are ambushed by Nidaki and Kreka but manage to defeat them. Reaching Ga Metru, they are forced into the sea by the Vaki, but use the Matoran spheres to keep the transport buoyant. Pterodax combines himself with Niwak, Nidaki, and Kreka. The Great Spirit Madanui crashes on Aqua Magna, plunging into a deep sleep. The resulting quake has repercussions all over the universe. Voyanui is hurled from the southern continent and outside of Madanui's body, landing in the Sea of Aqua Magna. Turaga Jovan and many Matoran are killed. In Cardanui, the energy storms stop as either the stalactites supporting the Avmatoran villages break from the roof, carrying the Matoran with them. Water begins to fall from the hole left by Voyanui. The pit is destroyed, letting the prisoners escape. Hydraxon and Toyette are amongst the casualties. The prisoners escape into the Sea of Aqua Magna, but are mutated by the energy, leaking from Madanui's body, specifically the Barricade. The Toa Metru escape the Silver Sea. Vakama makes the Vaki from the 6 Great Discs. The realization of the mask's power brings another vision onto him, and he sees a hole in the Great Barrier through which the Toa must sail. Pterodax lands on the Great Barrier and raises pillars from the seafloor to batter the Toa Metru. Vakama confronts the Masker of Shadows even as the other Toa try and destroy the pillars. Vakama uses the Vahi on Pterodax to stop the Makuda's Shadow Hand. However, he slows down his own movements as well. Lacan runs up to save Vakama, mortally wounding himself in the process. The Vahi is knocked into the Silver Sea. Turaga Lacan gives Vakama his noble mask of shielding, that dies after Vakama. He tells him that he is proud to have called him brother. Turaga Lacan then teleports to the Red Star. Vakama discovers his mask power and, wishing to avenge Lacan, uses his invisibility to trick Pterodax into slamming himself into the Great Barrier. The 5 of the Toa come and unite their powers with Vakama's, trapping the Master of Shadows in a cage of solid protodermis. The Toa Spirit Stars are created by this act. The Toa Metru travel through the partially submerged tunnels on their Vaki transport, which Vakama names the Lacan. The Toa find themselves at a fork. Matau decides to go left, but the Toa naturally escape from a Rahi, which raises the temperature of the water. As they take the other passage, Nokama decides to check on the Matoran spheres and notices an enormous dead serpent. The Toa Metru are ambushed by some Vaki Nurak, but they manage to defeat them. Nokama dives in to scout ahead, telling only Nuju. As she swims, she notices a cleverly concealed trap inside the tunnel. The transport gets stuck in what appears to be seaweed. Nuju tries to cut it, but discovers the seaweed is actually a Rahi, which takes his masks off and tries to devour him. However, he is saved when a current slabs into him in the transport. The current draws Lacan to a whirlpool, but Whenua, mind-controlled by Oniwa, creates an earth ramp which lets the transport fly over the vortex, which disappears afterwards. Meanwhile, Nokama rescues Nuju, and the two make their way back to Lacan. Vakama decides to make it seem as if the Toa were dead.